Parak Nun Aleph. This parak is going to be speaking about. Until now, we've been speaking about the historical things that have happened in the past. The first few prakim in the Sefer spoke about Adam Rishon, and then it spoke about Noach, and it spoke about Avram Avinu, Yitzchak, Yaakov, Bnei Yisrael in Mitzrayim, Yitzis Mitzrayim, Kriyas Yamsuf, Amalek, Chet Egel, Matan Torah, etc. The story with Pinchas, and then we spoke about Megillas Esther. Parak Nun and Nun Aleph, Parak Mem Tes and Nun was about Megillas Esther. Now Parak Nun Aleph is going to start talking about what's going to be in the Geula Ha'asida in the future redemption, Be'er Hashem, which we should be there to see soon. And then Parak Nun Beis is going to speak about the 7 wonders of the world, which are not necessarily the 7 wonders that you may be familiar with. And Nun Gimel and Nun Dalet is going to speak about Lashon Hara, and then Be'ezras Hashem Yisbarach we will be finishing the Sefer. So this parak speaks about different things that are going to happen in the future, B'Yemei HaMashiach, La'asid Lavai. In the course of this parak, it's going to be obvious why I felt that we should learn parak Hey and Vav before learning this parak. And we'll see what it says. Okay, says the Medrash. Rabban Gamliel Oimer. Rabban Gamliel says, "Kamei Rosh Chodesh miskadchen and miskadchen v'olam hazeh." Just like Rosh Chodesh is sanctified and is renewed in this world, Kach Yiyu Yisrael miskadchen and miskadchen la'asid lovay. So too, the Jews in the future will be sanctified and renewed in the future. I mean, the idea is, first of all, the Radal says that maybe the Gersa is supposed to be mischadchen u'miskadchen. It'll be renewed and it'll be sanctified, because every month we do something called Kiddush Lavana, right? Kiddush Lavana is when we sanctify the moon, right? After the moon becomes visible to the eye, so we say a special bracha within the first half of the month, right? So it's called Kiddush Lavana. So the gears over here should say, "You okay?"
No, you moved your place.
I know, because here it's warmer.
Oh, I brought in cookies to celebrate.
Oh, shkoyach.
Ay, ay, ay.
What?
I wasn't.
The guy told you? I told somebody to tell you if he sees you in the shul over there.
Yeah, well, there was one guy in there. He didn't tell me anything.
Okay.
So this is.
Okay, so we're talking about in the future, the future redemption. So the Medrash says that just like the Rosh Chodesh, the month becomes sanctified and renewed, so the Jews in the future become sanctified and renewed. So the Girsa that we have is they'll be sanctified and renewed. The Radal says no, it should say renewed and then sanctified. Just like the month, there's a new month, and then after a few days into the new month, you start saying Kiddush Lavana. Yeah. So too, there's going to be a rejuvenation, a renewal of Bnei Yisrael in the future, and then it's going to be what's it called? And then it's going to be showing their holiness afterwards, right? And then there's another. You could argue, because in Chazal there's a question: what the bracha that you say by Kiddush Lavana? We say Baruch Atah Hashem Mechadesh Chodashim? That's how we end the bracha of Kiddush Lavana. But there's a shayla exactly how do you do it. Do you end it with Mekadesh Chodashim? Do you say Mechadesh Chodashim? Or do you say Mekadesh Yisrael? So depending exactly on the guess, maybe if you say Mekadesh Chodashim, so you could say Mekadesh and Mischadesh is really, it's like the same idea. You don't have to say that Mischadesh is going to be Dafka before. Okay, whatever. It's somewhat of a side point. So the Medrash says that the Yisrael, miskadchen la'asid lavai k'may Rosh Chodesh, like Rosh Chodesh. And as it says in the pasuk, daber el kol adas bnei Yisrael, speak to the entire congregation of the Jews, v'amarto alehem, and you should say to them, kadoshim tihiu, you shall be holy, ki kadosh ani Hashem leikechem, just like I am holy. I, Hashem, your God, is holy, so you also will be holy. Kadoshim tihiu, you will be holy. Meaning, in the future, Bnei Yisrael will attain a level of holiness that they haven't attained yet. And that the Rabbi Leomi Izmir says that has to do with as the Gemara in Sukkah says that in the future Hashem is going to get rid of the Yetzer Hara, so people will be able to attain a higher level of holiness. So that holiness is what it is. That's what we're talking about. That in the future, when the Mashiach comes and there's not going to be a Yetzer Hara, so there'll be a higher level of holiness that's going to be even holier than the holiness that we can achieve at this point. So we say an idea that the Marzu also points out an interesting thing that in Kiddush, in the Nusach that we say of Kiddush Levana, so we say that Klal Yisrael is asidim hischadish k'moisa, that Klal Yisrael is destined to become renewed like the moon. That's a Nusach that we say. So that's like a remez, an allusion to what the Medrash is saying over here, that in the future Klal Yisrael is going to be renewed like the moon. Now the truth is that we said back in Perek Mem Hey when we were talking about the Egel, so we said over there that in the future the women of Klal Yisrael are going to be renewed because the women didn't partake in the sin of the Chet HaEgel, and we said the Medrash over there brought a pasuk of Tischadesh Knesher Niuraichi. You will be like your youth will be renewed like an eagle. That's what the pasuk says. So you see that they're going to be the women of Klal Yisrael are going to be, and that pasuk is written in feminine form. Tischadesh Knesher Niuraichi. It's talking about a woman. A woman is going to be renewed like an eagle. Their youth is going to be renewed like an eagle. So that the Medrash over there said that the women are going to be renewed in the time in the future.
What's going to be renewed about that?
So I'm not sure exactly what we're talking about. What does it mean we're going to be renewed? What does it mean that? And what is it? And here the Medrash says everyone, the whole Klal Yisrael is going to be renewed. Over there it said Dafka the women. I found an interesting a sefer called from the Maraz Binga, Reb Zeligman Binga. So he writes in a sefer a very interesting idea. How do you see from that pasuk that the women are going to be renewed? Because it say Tischadesh Knesher Niuraichi. The last letters of the words Tischadesh Knesher Niuraichi are Shin Reish Yud, Sarai. Just like Sarai, the wife of Avram Avinu, became old and she wasn't able to have children anymore, right? And then afterwards she became renewed, she became rejuvenated, she became young again. So too, in the future, the women of Klal Yisrael are going to be Tischadesh Knesher Niuraichi. So that's like a remez that he finds in that pasuk. To be masber what the Medrash was saying earlier in Perek Mem Hey, and then he goes on and says that and also all of Klal Yisrael is going to be renewed, because he brings a different pasuk than we bring over here. He says because it says the pasuk HaChodesh Hazel Lachem Reish Chadashim. The Chodesh is for you, Bnei Yisrael. Right? That's when Hashem told Moshe Rabbeinu that Nisan is going to be the first month, but he's expanding on that pasuk HaChodesh Hazel Lachem, like not HaChodesh, but like HaChidush Hazel Lachem. The Chidush, the rejuvenation, is going to be for you. You're going to be rejuvenated, renewed, whatever exactly that entails. There's another medrash that says, the Radal over here wants to say that maybe the Nashim are only going to get Chidush but not Kiddush, and then the men are going to get Lehiskadesh, Ulehiskadesh, and the women are just going to be Lehiskadesh but not Lehiskadesh. Okay, I'm not sure exactly. He's saying some sort of Kabbalistic word over here. I don't understand exactly what he means, but the Radal wants to say this. I don't know why he would say that, but that's what the Radal wants to say. There's another Chazal that talks about comparing Klal Yisrael to the moon, and how in the future there's going to be a rejuvenation. And maybe it could be that that's what our Medrash is sort of alluding to over here. We said back in Perek Vav that the moon, and this is obvious, but we know that the moon, in the beginning of the month, it waxes. In the middle of the month, it peaks in the full moon, and then from the middle of the month to the end of the month, it wanes and gets smaller and smaller. So Chazal tell us that that's a mashal to the Malchus Beis David. Malchus Beis David, if you have 15 generations from Avram Avinu to Shlomo HaMelech, where the Malchus Beis David was building up. Shlomo HaMelech is the 15th, in the middle of the month. It peaked at Shlomo HaMelech. The Pax Judea, was in the time of Shlomo HaMelech. That was the height of what? 15 generations. One second, I'll count them. And then from after Shlomo Melech, 15 generations it was going downhill, and then the Beis Hamikdash was destroyed.
No,
and now
the final by Yeshio, he was the last.
Okay, one second. So it's first of all, it's kedai to memorize to memorize the generations. One second. It's kedai to memorize the generations. So you can say it like this: 15 generations from Avram Avinu till Shlomo Melech is like this: Avram, Yitzchak, Yaakov, Yehuda, Peretz, Chetzroin, Ram, Aminadav, Nachshon, Salmon, Boaz, Oved, Yishai, David, Shlomo. So Shlomo is 15, and then from Shlomo it goes down. From after Shlomo it goes downhill, right? So these are the descendants of Shlomo Melech. His son was Rechavam, Aviam, Asa, Yehoshaphat, Yehoram, Achazyahu, which the Ksava Kabbalah says we shouldn't count Achazyahu because he was only king for a year, so it's not considered like a generation. So not counting Achazyahu, counting Achazyahu's son, whose name was Yoash. So Yoash, Amatzia, Uzziah, who is also known as Azariyahu, Yoisam, Achaz, Chizkiyahu, Menashe, Amon, Yoshiyahu, and then in the 15th generation, in the children of Yoshiyahu's time, that's when the Beis Hamikdash was destroyed. Right. So I'm saying Tzidkiyahu was the last king, and he was the son of Yoshiyahu. Yeah, not count right, because they were short. They were short reigns. They were 3 months.
It was like 12 years.
The Seder, but I'm saying he was the son of Yoshiyahu.
So you're counting it all as one.
Right, because that's one generation.
I understand it differently. I understood it that you are going to count everyone, including Amatzio,
including Achazio.
And then you're going to come to Yeshua because in his time, when he got killed,
that was the beginning of the end.
He conquered Eretz Yisrael. The entire Eretz Yisrael was a vassal state, right? Yechaz was under Melech Mitzrayim. You see, then he had enough of him. He brought him down to Mitzrayim, right?
To Mitzrayim, right here.
First was an Evet to Mitzrayim, then he was an Evet to Babel. He rebelled. Okay, he got rid of him. Yachin, and then the king of Babel had enough of him also. And then Tzidkiyahu, then so the last 3 kings.
You could learn it like that. The way I'm saying it is the way that the Iyun Tefillah, which is written by the Ksava Kabbalah, so Iyun Tefillah on Kiddush Levana, this is the way he says it. So in a Chalam, you could say it the way you're saying it also. But fine. So it could be that's what the Medrash is talking about over here. That like Klal Yisrael is going to be renewed. It's talking about a renewal of Malchus Beis David. And in fact, when we say Kiddush Levana, so we say things that talk about Malchus Beis David. We say David Melech Yisrael Chai V'Kayam. Like why in the middle of Kiddush Levana did you scream out the words David Melech Yisrael Chai V'Kayam? What does that have to do with Kiddush Levana? So that's what the Medrash is saying, that there's a special connection between the waxing and waning of the moon, and it disappears, but it's going to come back, just like Malchus Beis David. It seems like it disappeared and it's going to come back.
So I had a shayla on this one.
Yeah.
If it's completely 115, it says in the Rambam, Melchem Sheikh Asad Lamod Lahatse Malchus David Yoish, and I'm sure he's found it, yeah?
Yeah.
Sounds like he's going to be number 1. You had 15 going up, 15 going down, 30, right?
Yeah.
Just like a month, you start again, you start with 1, right?
Yeah.
So he's not going to be 15, Mashiach is going to be 1. So how is he going to get to the level of David and Shlomo over 14 and 15?
I don't know exactly what that means.
I was just going to say that Mashiach is all the numbers put together.
Yeah, here. The point is just that it's going to reappear. I don't know the point is going to be...
But when the month starts, it's pretty dark.
You're taking the muscle too literally, I think.
Yeah?
You're taking it further than it was meant. Maybe. I don't know. It could be. Let's go weiter. So we said that Klal Yisrael is going to be renewed in the future when in the Yimayis Mashiach. Says the Medrash V'Chachamim. That was what Rabban Gamliel said. Right? Especially because Rabban Gamliel, this is also on Kadesh. Rabban Gamliel is from the house of the Nasi. He's from a descendant of Malchus Beis David. So it would make sense, like, if he's going to be saying something, he would dafka be talking about Malchus Beis David. He's sort of doing it in a coded way, but it could be that that's what he means to be talking about. So the Chachamim say, Shemaim v'aretz asidim le'over u'leis chadesh. The heavens and the earth are destined to pass, their time is going to pass, and they're going to be renewed. Maksiv alehem, because what does the pasuk say about the heavens and the earth? It says in Yeshaya, it says v'nagaylu chasefer shamoyim. It will be rolled out like the book of the heavens. So we're comparing the heavens to a book that you're rolling out. What does that mean? Like a man who reads from a sefer, and then after you finish reading from your sefer Torah, right, you roll it up and you close it. Kach osid HaKadosh Baruch Hu liglel es hashamayim. So too, HaKadosh Baruch Hu is going to roll up the heavens, like he'll close it up. V'nagelu kasef hashamayim, and then he's going to reveal it and open it up like the book of the heavens, and then Hashem is going to bring it back. So the Shemayim is going to disappear. Its time is going to be over, and then it's going to come back.
So it's going to be like a blackout suddenly, no world.
So, we'll have to see exactly what it means, but this is what the Medrash says so far. And similarly, v'ha'aretz kabeged tivla. That's the pasuk in Yeshaya. The land is going to be worn out like a clothing. Ka'adam shu paishet es talisai, like a man who takes off his talis. V'hu meichel, and he one verse Girsa says meichel, which the Bais HaGadol explains means he measures it. Or miyabel, which would mean he cleans it off from like different stains it has. Or another girsa that the Radal says minayra, so he shakes it off. There's another bathroom over there. So he gets rid of like the stains, the impurities on this talis. So too kach mekapel es haaretz. So too Hashem will fold up the eretz. And then he's going to renew it and put it back in its place like a talis. As it says in the pasuk, the land is going to be worn out like a beged, like a clothing. Okay, let's go a little bit weiter before we explain exactly what all of this means, at least to some extent. We could. Okay, yeah. Let's go weiter. Everyone in the land is going to taste the taste of death for 2 days. Because there won't be the soul of any man or animal on the land. It says the pasuk, and its inhabitants similarly will also die. The Radal says, he makes a deal because it says they're going to taste the taste of death. Does that mean they're going to actually die, or does that mean they're going to taste the taste of death? Yeah, they're going to like somewhat die, but not really die. What exactly does that mean? The Radal's not so. He doesn't have it so clear. I guess. I think it means that they're going to. It seems like it's saying that they're going to die, because he's medai because it says yemusun instead of yemusu. And the nun at the end of a word, as we've spoken about a few times, the nun at the end of the word comes to say that something is smaller than you would otherwise think. So what does it mean, like a small death? It's either dead or not dead. So he wants to say that it means like they're going to taste something similar to death, but not death. I don't know what that means. The Pasha says that it means that they're going to die for 2 days. And the third day, Kadosh Baruch Hu is going to renew them and revive them. Or the gifts of the Radals, es hamesim, explicitly that he's going to revive the dead people, and he's going to stand them up in front of him. Right? Hashem is going to bring us back to life after 2 days, and on the third day we're going to be standing up in front of him. Okay, so what's this Medrash over here talking about? So the parasha is like this. There's a Gemara in Masechus Sanhedrin, which is somewhat famous, on Daf Tzadik Zayin Amar Aleph. The Gemara says, Amar of Katina, Shis Alfi Shni Havu Alma. The world is destined to be 6,000 years. V'chad Choruv, and 1,000 it's going to be destroyed. Meaning 6,000 years it's going to exist, and then in the 7th millennium it'll be destroyed. Shnei V'niskav Hashem Levadei Bayemahu. Abaye disagrees. He says, no. Trei Choruv, it's going to be destroyed for 2,000 years. Right? So what this Gemara suggests, and a lot of Mekubalim of the in the time of the Rishonim go with this Mahalach, even though apparently the Arizal didn't like it or whatever, but the early Mekubalim go with this Mahalach, that the world is going to be destroyed in the year 7,000, and it'll be destroyed for Machlokes in the Gemara over here, either 1,000 or 2,000 years, and then Hashem will recreate the world, and then it'll exist for 6,000 years, and then be destroyed again, and then etc. 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 A cycle of doing it 7 times until you get to 50,000 years, and then it's going to be what I think the Rikanti calls it the Yovel Agadol, and then the world is going to be destroyed and it won't be recreated b'chlal. It's a whole mahalach that a lot of Rishonim go. Rabbeinu B'chaye, Parshas Bahar talks about it. A lot of Rishonim speak about it. So that's what the Medrash says over here. That's what the Gemara says. The Gemara alludes to it in Sanhedrin, because how do you understand it? The Gemara says 6,000 years the world's going to be destroyed, and 6,000 years the world's going to exist, and 1,000 is going to be destroyed. What do you mean 1,000? It's going to exist for 6,000 years, and then kaput, then it's gone, right? What do you mean 1,000 is destroyed? What it means is that only for 1,000, and then it's going to be recreated. And then Abaye disagrees, and he said, no, not 1,000, 2,000. 2,000 years it's going to be destroyed, and then the recreation will happen. Right? The Gemara says further, it's also a famous part of the Gemara. The Gemara says, Tanavei Leo, Sheshes Alafim Shana Havi Alma. The world is going to be 6,000 years. Shnei Alfim Toihu. The first 2,000 years was the world, the time of nothingness. Shnei Alafim Toihu. Shnei Alafim Torah. The second set of 2,000 years was Torah. That was when most of what's considered Torah happened. Most of the stories of Tanakh, whatever, happened in those 2,000 years. Between the year 2000 and the year 4000 of creation. Right? And then Shnei Alafim Yimei Mashiach. From 4,000 to 6,000 is going to be the 2 millennia that are the time it's preparation for Mashiach, and then Mashiach is going to be there before the end of the 6,000th year, before the end of the 6,000s, before the end of the 6th millennium, right? So here the Gemara brings things in pairs of 2, and then the implication is the next thing will be also the world will be destroyed, but it'll be for 2,000 years. So the Radal explains that our Medrash over here is going like Abaye in Masechah Sanhedrin. Abaye says the world's going to be destroyed for 2,000 years, and then it'll be recreated, right? So the Medrash says that the people are going to yitamu tamisa shnei yamim. They're going to taste the taste of death for 2 days, meaning, as we've spoken about before, that a day is 1,000 years. A day for Hashem is 1,000 years for us, so that means 2,000 years, shnei yamim. And on the third day, meaning after those 2,000 years, then Hashem is going to recreate the world. That's what it seems that the Radal is sort of saying pshat in this Medrash over here. I didn't have a chance. I have these Marmukimis written down elsewhere about where are we holding in this cycle. We know we're holding in the year 5,777, right? But 5,777 out of let's say 7,000 years, right? Getting to the year, or get in those cycles, right? But the shaila is, in which cycle are we holding in? So there's different mafarshim that say different pshatim about exactly which cycle of the what they call the Yovel HaGadol, a 50,000 year cycle, where we're holding in. But I didn't bother getting those marmukimis for us tonight because it's a little bit off topic. Fine, weiter. Rabbi Eliezer says, "Kol tzva shemayim asidin le'over ulis chadish." Not just Bnei Yisrael, and not just the Shemayim v'Aretz, but all the heavenly legions, all the celestial bodies are going to be, their time is going to pass, and they're going to be renewed, or they're going to be libol ulis chadish. That's the girsa of the Rashba and Rabbeinu B'chaya. Libol, they're going to be worn out, and they're going to be renewed, right? Like the scientists tell us that the sun is a ball of gas that's on fire and only has a certain amount of gas. When the gas runs out, so then the sun will just cease to exist because there's nothing burning anymore, right? So Chazal are telling us there is such a thing that like the celestial bodies will be worn out and then they won't exist anymore, and then Hashem is going to bring them back. Maksiv Alehem, what does it say about the celestial bodies? V'chol tzva'am yibel kinvol ale migefen. All the legions will be worn out like a leaf that's worn off from a vine, from a grapevine. Just like if you pull off if you pull off a leaf from a grapevine or from a fig tree, so the spot where the leaf was will be like hard wood. It'll dry up. v'chayzreis, ufarches, v'neitzetzes, v'tzaimches, u'meitzim olim chadashim. But then the fig tree or the grapevine is going to go back and it's going to sprout and it's going to grow and bring out new leaves. Kach kol tzva hashemayim yibailu v'chayzin ufarchen or ufarin v'noitzesin v'tzimchen v'tzchachim v'kaimen. So too the heavenly legions are going to be worn out and they're going to come, and then afterwards they're going to come back and they're going to re-sprout and regrow and regenerate, and they're going to come back to their place. We have the gifts of ufarchen, they're going to grow. The Marzu says he has the gifts of upoirin, which means they're going to reveal themselves, and he says that no, really it's supposed to say uparchin, like what we have. To teach everybody that a Kadosh Baruch Hu is the one who can wear everything out. That's the point over here. This is the key line. To teach that Hashem can make everything worn out and make everything used up. That's the point. The point is, as Rabbi Leomi Israel brings out the point by Richos, he says the point is that in the future, it's going to be revealed to the entire world that only a Kadosh Baruch Hu is the one that's running everything, right? And it'll be obvious to the entire world. The only thing is, there's still going to be makom for a person to taina. Well, maybe it's the sun that's really in charge of everything. Chas v'shalom, right? That's what the Avdei Avodas are. They worship the sun, so maybe they'll taina the sun. So what in the Lasid Lavai, in order to show that Hashem Taka is the only source of kayach on top of everything, so Hashem is going to get rid of everything and then bring it back to show you that He's in charge. So that's what it means. L'hidiyah shehu mevala es hakol means Hashem is going to get rid of the sun, and then there's no way you could say now that the sun is the God, and then Hashem will bring back the sun, and then get rid of the moon, and Hashem is going to get rid of the tzva shemayim, is going to get rid of the shemayim v'aretz and bring it back to show that l'hidiyah shehu mevala es hakol. Says the Medrash, another thing that's going to happen in the future, ve'ein oid, not only that, more, lo rov v'le magefa. There won't be any famines, and there won't be any plagues. Ve'ein oid saras chadashes, and there won't be any new distresses. Shinama, it says in the pasuk, ki hineni vari shemaim chadashim v'aretz chadasha. Because, behold, I am creating a new heavens and a new land. Lo rov v'le magefa, right? There's not going to be any famine and no plague. So the Radal has a discussion over here. What does it mean there's not going to be a famine and there's not going to be a plague? He says, what do you mean? There's not going to be any death. There won't be any death in the future. So does it mean there's not going to be a famine or plague? Who cares? And there also won't be any, I don't know, whatever, other reasons why people die. So there is a gersa in the Rishonim that says, Ra'ah. Loi ra'ah v'loi magefa. There won't be anything bad and there won't be any plagues. So what are you going to say with plagues? So the Radal says that plagues usually come as a einish for doing averos, but in a time when there won't be a yetzer hara, in Lasid Lavai, when everything is going to be finished, so there won't be any einshin for averos. That part of that shlav of the world is already going to be, we're going to be past it already. Hashem will have already given out all the schar and the einish, or all the einish that people are due. Right, so you won't have a magefa because there won't be any reason for a magefa. So it says that's the chiddush. The chiddush is that even a death that's not a natural death, but a death that comes dafka from a einish from shemayim, even that won't be lasid lavei. And then with that he wants to say that maybe rav also is the same idea, that rav usually comes because of a gzera, because of a einish, and then it's coming to teach you the same thing, that there's not going to be any einish in lasid lavei because that will have already been taken care of. Fine. So we said that Hashem is going to, in the last love, Hashem is going to renew Bnei Yisrael. Then we said He's going to renew the Shemayim v'Aretz. Then we said He's going to renew the Tzva Shemayim. Comes Rabbi Yanai, and Rabbi Yanai says, no, what do you mean Hashem is going to renew the Tzva Shemayim? Last love. Rabbi Yanai, no. Kol Tzva Shemayim, Avin Meschachim B'chol Yoim. It's not just that Hashem is going to be renewing the Tzva Shemayim, the heavenly bodies, when in the future, by Yemais HaMashiach, it's going to happen. It happens every day. Hashem renews the Tzva Shemayim every single day. You should know that it's true. First of all, we say it in davening, right? We say in the bracha of Yetzer Or, we say Mechadish B'chol Yom Tawid Ma'aser Reishis. We're talking about the celestial bodies. Hashem renews every single day constantly the Ma'aser Bereishis, the creation of the world. But you should know that it's true. When the Shemesh is setting in the west, and the sun bathes in the waters of the Atlantic. We sort of spoke about this in Perek Vav, that the sun at night goes down into the ocean. Just like a person, if you have a candle and you want to extinguish the candle, you extinguish it you put it in water and it extinguishes it. So too, the waters of the ocean extinguish the flames of the sun, and there's no light for the sun, and that's why it's dark at night, right? And there's no light for the sun the entire night until the sun comes back in the east, and then it renews itself. Right? When the sun comes to the east, what does it do? The sun bathes in a fire in a river of fire. Just like a person who lights a candle from a pre-existing flame. And the pre-existing flame lights up his candle, and it literally means it dresses its flame. It means it assumes the flame of the pre-existing flame. Right? It assumes those fires. So too the sun does that, and it becomes shiny again. And the sun comes up to give light to the land. And that's sort of what we're talking about when we say that every day Ma'aser Bereishis is Nischadesh, it's renewed, that every day that the sun is sort of destroyed and then it comes back. Right? From a scientific perspective, obviously it's not true. It's just that we're turned away from the sun or whatever. But in a ruchnistic level, the way we perceive it is Ki'ilu Hashem takes away the sun, destroys the sun, takes away its koichas, and then gives it back its koichas. Until the next day where it goes to the west, and again it extinguishes itself, and then it renews itself. There's an interesting shtickle over here in the Radal. The Radal says that in the Yalkut Shemaini it says that river where the sun, the river of fire where the sun bathes itself, is called Nahar Dinor. Gemara in Chagiga talks about Nahar Dinor, and he says that from Razil HaMalach, from the Sefer Razil HaMalach, where it says that Nahar Dinor was from the Toldos of the Or that was created on Yom Rishon. Meaning, what we have, the sun that we have, was created on Yom Revi, and it's just a ball of gas that's on fire. So it's like it's just a big fire, right? It's not necessarily what we would say Or. But the Nahar Dinor, which is a river of fire, it's a different type of fire. Razil HaMalach says that Nahar Dinor was from the fire that was created on Yom Rishon, right? That it was Nignaz or whatever. And when the sun dips into that fire, it gets light. It's different. It's a different type of fire than you would otherwise understand. We've spoken about before that fire was created on Motzei Shabbos, right, on Yom Rishon. But the MS is that the Or and the fire is sort of the same thing, because Motzei Shabbos and Yom Rishon is the same thing. It's the same day of the week. So it's not necessarily a stira. But the point is that the Radal says that the people like to ask this question, like, how can you have different days in Bris Milah before the creation of the sun and the moon? How can you measure time? How can you measure days? So the Radal says that from the Razil HaMalach, that they measure days from the light of the Nahar Dinor, not which the sun comes from Nahar Dinor. It's an interesting var. Whatever, I don't know what I'm talking about. It's Kabbalah. It's an interesting thing to think about exactly what it means. Says the Medrash, "Uleis erev hayarech like a chaviv v'mazolis reich tzemidor shel borod." In the evening, the moon and all the kechovim, the stars, the mazolas, and the constellations, they bathe in a river of ice or of hail. And they come up to give light to the land. Right? So it's a different. They also give light, but it's a different type of light. That's more or less the vart. Says the Medrash, in the future Hashem is going to renew the light of the moon and the stars and the mazolas. And Hashem is going to add on their light 7 times 7, 49 times, sevenfold, like the light of the 7 days of creation. It's a pasuk in Yeshaya that the Or Halavana, the light of the moon, is going to be like the light of the sun, and the light of the sun is going to be 49 times stronger, like the light of the 7 days. So the way we usually understand the pasuk is it's saying that the moon is going to be like the sun, and the sun is going to be like 49 times stronger. But as the Marzu points out over here, Rabbi Yanai in our Medrash over here understands that no, Ki'ar Shivas Yamim is going back on everything. It's also going back on Or Lavana Ki'ar Chama. That the moon is going to be, it's not going to be stam like the sun, it's going to be even stronger. Okay, let's go weiter. Rabbi Gamliel Omer. Now it's sort of a new discussion. Now we're going to talk about the connection between Shabbos and Rosh Chodesh with the idea of this new hischadshus in the future of Yomei HaMashiach. Rabbi Gamliel Omer. Rabbi Gamliel says, "Oila shemakrivin b'chol Shabbos shnei kvasim." The oila that we bring on Shabbos, the two kvasim that we bring in the Korban Mussaf of Shabbos. V'oilas Rosh Chodesh parim shnayim. And the oila that we bring on Rosh Chodesh, the 2 parim, elu shnayim ve'elu shnayim, they're both 2. Right? On Shabbos we bring 2 oilas, and Rosh Chodesh we bring 2 oilas. So Shabbos we bring 2 oilas, 2 kvasim, and Rosh Chodesh we bring 2 oilas, 2 parim. Keneged shnei olamas, olam hazeh v'olam haba. It corresponds to the fact that there's 2 worlds, this world and the world to come. Olam hazeh v'olam haba. Fine. Ayachad v'soyer achad. What's it called? Ayil echad, v'soyer echad. What's that talking about? That's talking about Rosh Chodesh, right? Yeah, ayil echad v'soyer echad is talking about Rosh Chodesh. On Rosh Chodesh you bring in 1 ayil and 1 soyer. Kishem, no. Yeah. Kishem shehu echad, kach hem echad ve'elei kehen echad. Just like you bring 1 of those, it's coming to teach you that the Hashem is also 1. Kvasim b'nei shana shiva tamimin. You bring 7 kvasim. That's talking about Rosh Chodesh. Keneged makriveihen lamachadshon. It's corresponding to the people that bring it. What does it mean? It's corresponding to the people that bring it. So there's a few pshatim over here. The Marzu says it's talking about Bnei Yisrael. Just like Bnei Yisrael is just like the Shiva Kvasim that you bring on Rosh Chodesh are Tamimim, so too Bnei Yisrael are Tamimim. They're wholesome. They're free of sin. That's one pshat. The other pshat you could say, the Radal says, is that there's a few other pshatim. Just like you bring 7 Kvasim, so the people who bring Korbanos are 7. What's the people who bring Korbanos are 7? So he says either it means that it's talking about the 7 mizbachos that the Avos brought on, or he says it's talking about the 7 times that you bring a Korban Mussaf. What are the 7 times you bring a Korban Mussaf? Pesach, Shavuos, Sukkos, Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur, Shabbos, and Rosh Chodesh. So those are the 7 times that you bring a Korban Mussaf. Then the Radal says no, maybe it's talking about the 7 koichvei laches, right? The 7 astral forces, the sun, the moon, and the 5 visible stars, which correspond to the days of the week, and we're trying to show that just like there's 7 days of the week and 30 days of the month that in the future Kadosh Baruch Hu is going to renew them, so too that's what the Shiva Kvasim of Rosh Chodesh is a remez to. That's what the Radal wants to say. Just like Keneged Makrivehen, corresponding, we bring Shiva Kvasim and Shana Tamimim corresponding to the people that bring them, like we said, Tamimim or the 7 or whatever, Lamachatchan, to the one who will renew them. Right? To Kadosh Baruch Hu, who will renew them, Kamei Rosh Chodeshim, who will renew them like Rosh Chodesh. Shenema, as it says in the pasuk, Zos Oilas Chodesh b'Chodshai. This is the Korban Oila of a month of each month. Fine. Later. Rabbi Zechariah Omer. Rabbi Zechariah says, Achar Rosh Chodesh Maksiv. What does it say after Rosh Chodesh? Or as the Girsa of the Radal, which Chara is right, it says, what does the pasuk say after it talks about the Oilas Rosh Chodesh? Achar Oilas Rosh Chodesh Maksiv. What does the pasuk say after it talks about the Oilas Rosh Chodesh? It says, L'sirizim echad l'chatos l'Hashem. One Sir Izim you should bring as a chatos to Hashem. So what's this? We already mentioned before that there's one island, one Sawyer, right? So what's that Sir Izim? You bring it as a chatos and it's l'Hashem. Now the Medrash says, the Medrash is sort of bothered by that. By other Korban Mussafs, so you also bring a Sir Izim Echad L'Chatos, but over there it doesn't say La Hashem. By Rosh Chodesh, when it's talking about the Sir Izim that you bring as a Chatos, on the Mussaf of Rosh Chodesh, there it says La Hashem. By the other ones it doesn't say La Hashem. So why does it say specifically that the Chatos is La Hashem on Rosh Chodesh and not by the other Korban Mussafs that you bring? Says the Medrash, when a Kadosh Baruch Hu created his world, he created 2 great luminaries. Shinema, it says in the pasuk, "Vayivra lekim es shnei ha'oros hagedolim," as the ma'or hagadol mishalos, right? As the ma'or hakaton mishalos halayla ve'es hakoychavim, right? The big one for the day, the small one for the night, and as we spoke about previously in Parak Hay, in Parak Vav and Zayin, right? So we said that Shnei ha'ma'ores hagedolim is mashma that both of them were equal originally, and then afterwards it says a ma'or gadol, a ma'or katan. So what happened? We spoke about over there that they said ein shnei malachim mishamshem betagar echad, that you can't have 2 kings with 1 crown, right? So there have to be that Hashem made 1 big and 1 small. Higdil echad v'hiktin echad. Hashem made 1 bigger and 1 smaller, right? Here again, the Medrash uses that lashon of higdil echad v'hiktin echad. Hashem could have just made 1 of them smaller instead of making 1 bigger and 1 smaller. We spoke about that over there in the beginning of Perek Vav. V'hiksha hayirech es arpoi shloi lasis v'sen bari shloi liyes katan. And the moon was hiksha, it's arpoi. Its neck was stiff. It was very stubborn, and it didn't want to do the will of its creator. Shloi liyes katan. It didn't want to be small. And Afal Piken Hashem made it small, right? The Gemara says in Chulin on Samachim and Beis, the Gemara says that Hashem said to the moon, make yourself smaller. And the moon said, what? Because I'm the one who said a good thing, I should make myself smaller. When he said that the sun and the moon can't be equal, I should make myself smaller. Doesn't mean that it disobeyed Hashem, because you can't necessarily. Elements of creation can't mamish disobey Hashem, because Hashem is the creator and he forces them to do what he wants, even though we do find such a thing by the Tachei Aretz Desha. But the point is that Hashem did make the moon become smaller. So lefika chayu yisrael makrivin sir chatas lamala me'oilas rosh chodesh. So therefore, Klal Yisrael bring a sir izim as a chatas to Hashem more so than the oilas rosh chodesh. In addition to the oilas rosh chodesh. Remember, sir izim echad lachatos laHashem. What does that mean that it's laHashem? Amar Kadosh Baruch Hu hasoyer hazeh yiyah kapara alai b'shul shemiyatati yasayareach. This soyer should be an atonement for me because I made the moon smaller. Right? Obviously, it doesn't literally mean that Hashem needs a kapara for making the moon smaller, because Hashem is Hashem, and Hashem was obviously doing the right thing. Hashem was doing what was supposed to be done. But the Bais HaGadol, Rabbi Yomi Izmir, Mufarshim say that what it means to tell us is that it's teaching us a lesson. Whatever it's saying is in the Gillian over there in Mesachos Shavuos, in Megillah, in the Masechah Shavuos, it says that Daf Tes Vav, I think it is, Daf Tes. So it says like this, like Sodus in Kabbalah, exactly what it means that Hashem made the moon smaller, so we have to bring a kapara for Hashem on Rosh Chodesh. But the point is that Hashem is trying to teach us a lesson that when we do something, even when we do the right thing, but somebody feels slighted by what we've done, so there's an inyan that we try to be mafayisam, try to appease them, try to like ask them for kapara, even though we did the right thing, but try to make them feel better about themselves. So too Hashem is teaching us that even though Hashem of course did the right thing by making the moon smaller, but that there's something still can be lacking. So Hashem says like we should bring this Korban Chatas on Rosh Chodesh as a kapara for him, so that maybe the moon will feel better, to be mefayis the moon, right? To teach us this lesson that we have to be mefayis somebody else if we did something like that. Right, that's more or less the inyan over here that the Medrash is talking about. I just wanted to end with a vart that has to do with Chanukah. Right, we spoke about over here Shabbos and Rosh Chodesh. The Shabbos and Rosh Chodesh are a remez to the new hischadshus, the new renewal that's going to be in the future with Klal Yisrael and Yemais HaMashiach. That's what Shabbos and Rosh Chodesh is a remez to. So in a lot of sources, when it talks about what happened with the Yevanim, so the three decrees that the Yevanim specifically did, that a lot of Midrashim and a lot of sources focus on, is that they made a gzera against Shabbos, against Rosh Chodesh, and against Bris Milah. So what's the idea of Shabbos, Rosh Chodesh, and Bris Milah? All of those things signify a special connection between Klal Yisrael and HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And I wanted to say, I think this is a good word. I said this by my first son's Shalom Zachar, by my son Benjamin Lezer's Shalom Zachar, a few years back. I still hold it's a good word. The Sfarim HaKadoshim speak about the last day of Chanukah is called Zos Chanukah. This is Chanukah. Right? So what does it mean, Zos Chanukah? This is okay. Parsha Pshat is that it comes from the Kriyas Torah that you read on the last day of Chanukah has the word Zos Chanukah Mizbeach, so that's why the last day of Chanukah is called Zos Chanukah. But what's the why is Dafka the last day? This is Chanukah. What's the idea over there? So they've said different pshatim, different ideas through the years that I've heard. This time I heard once from a pshat b'shem of Shmuel Birnbaum. Could be he was a shtickle joking when he said it, but it says that the whole idea of Chanukah is to show that the Or HaTorah, the menorah, Haretz Lahakim Yadrim, the menorah is the symbol of Limud Torah. But the problem is that every day of Chanukah, so people leave yeshiva early, they leave second seder early, and they go home. So they're learning less Torah on Chanukah than they do the rest of the year. So why, if Chanukah represents the idea of leaving the Torah, so Chanukah, it comes out the opposite. You're learning less on Chanukah than the rest of the year. So what's the idea? So it says, well, every day of Chanukah you leave early so you can go light the menorah, right? But the last day of Chanukah, you don't have to leave early to light the menorah, because that night is no longer Chanukah, so you don't have to light. There's no night on the 8th day. You don't light a menorah anymore. It's already the evening of the afternoon. The evening of the 8th day is already might say Chanukah. So there's no lighting. So Shmuel Birnbaum said, "Oh, that's why the 8th day when you don't leave second seder early, that's why it's called Zos Chanukah. That's Chanukah because that's the real time when you focus on the limud of Torah." That's one part. But I wanted to say a different shot. I want to say like this. We said that there's these three gzeros that the Yevanim did against the Yid. They did Shabbos, Rosh Chodesh, and Milah. So I want to say that every Chanukah has all three of these things built in. In 8 days of Chanukah, you're always going to have a Shabbos, right? And you're always going to have a Rosh Chodesh. And then you're always going to have a Milah, meaning an 8th day. So at what point do you get all three elements? You only get it on the 8th day. Because let's say Shabbos is always going to be the first 7 days of Chanukah is always going to be Shabbos. One of those 7 days is going to be Shabbos. And in the first 7 days of Chanukah, one of them is going to be Rosh Chodesh. Right? So Shabbos or Rosh Chodesh you already get within the first 7 days. But Milah you can only do Milah on the 8th day. So the 8th day comes the third element of those three elements. So that's why the 8th day is called Zos Chanukah, because now you bring out the point of Shabbos, Rosh Chodesh, and Milah. So I heard an interesting idea. that the word Chashmonai, the Rosh Tevis of the word Chashmonai, is a hint to all these different gzeros that the Greeks made against the Jews. These three that I mentioned, plus a few more that are spread out in other midrashim. Ches, Shin, Mem, Nun, Aleph, Yud is Chashmonai. Right? So Ches is Chodesh or Rosh Chodesh, was reference to the fact that they said that Jews can't keep Rosh Chodesh. Shin is Shabbos. Mem is Milah. Nun is Nida. There's a medrash that says that the Yevanim didn't let the Jews keep the laws of Nida. They didn't let them go to the mikvah. They didn't let the Jewish women go to the mikvah. And the medrash says that Kodesh Baruch Hu made a nace that a mayan grew in their houses and a spring sprung up, and people were able to go to the mikvah privately, and they didn't have to listen to the Greeks' decree. That's Nun. Aleph is Eishes Ish. The Yevanim made a decree called Besula Nisas Tibala Hegma Tchila. Any girl who was getting married, first she had to have relations with the ruling hegemony. And then Yud is Yichud Hashem. That they said that the Jews have to deny Hashem, they have to deny the existence of Hashem. One of the things that they made was they made a decree that the Jews have to write on the horn of a ox and the horn of on the ear of a donkey. You have to write we don't have any portion in the God of Israel. They had to write down a denial of Hashem. Right? So the Greeks made them deny all this. So these Ches, Shin, Mem, Nun, Aleph, Yud, these 6 things are hinted to in the name Chashmonai. I had this word from Rabbi Zev Leff from Rosh Matityahu. So these 6 things are merumas in the name Chashmonai, and that's what they were fighting against. Shkoyach.